Passenger press conference here for BritBox at New York Comic Con. We're here with Wunmi Mosaku. You know her from Lovecraft Country, a couple episodes in Black Mirror. Maybe you've heard of a thing called Loki or Wolverine and Deadpool. That movie came out. It's only $1 billion movie for $1 billion franchise. That's got to feel really cool to have that to your credits, right?
That was cool. I mean, I have no idea what these things went like. Opening weekend numbers, those things, that doesn't really register to me.
Right.
But then getting all the calls like, this is the biggest movie of the summer or the biggest Marvel, I'm like, oh.
It's the biggest R-rated movie of all time.
Wow.
And I got to admit, in the theater, there was a huge pop when you showed up on the screen. Everyone's like, oh my God.
Yay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad.
So you are so beloved with the Marvel Universe and all of that. And now another chance for you to be even more beloved with not just the American audience through BritBox, but all around the world. Because this show already aired in the UK,
yes.
But it's coming here to the United States. It's available right now on BritBox Passenger. You play a police officer, but it's like a fish out of water in this small town. Like, they all grew up together. They have all their nuances and idiosyncrasies, and then you came. You even explained, like, this is not where you saw your life. You showed up here for a different reason, and now where your life is totally different. And you see everything that's going on in this town that everybody else doesn't recognize.
Yeah, she's definitely like, I think that's something that I feel like a lot of people feel, even if you're from there. Do you belong there? And, Nish is from there. Does he belong there? Eddie's from there. Does he feel like he belongs there? Katie Wells, all she wants to do is leave.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, I think that feeling of belonging it can actually feel like oppressive and like a prison of, like, because you feel like you have to do something to fit in, but then everyone's wearing the mask or that they've been assigned. And actually, that's harder than just being yourself.
Yeah, you're thinking like, well, they all know each other, they've all grew up together, but I want to belong to that. And then you, like you were saying, their masks come off and you realize they don't even know where they fit into their own world, and they've been there the entire time.
They've been conditioned too. They're a victim of this like idea of how you should be in Cheddar and who you should be and who belongs and how like I really love Katie Wells' journey and her relationship with her parents, and it's really the fear of like who am I, and am I free to be that person? And some people want to break out of that, and some people actually don't. Like, I don't think Rhea really wants to really look herself in the eye and see what she doesn't want to find her purpose. She doesn't want to find her freedom. She's too scared, because then she'll be a small fish in a big pond and having to like figure it out, where she prefers being like this woman who moved up from London.
Very humdrum, don't rock the boat.
Yeah. She prefers to be the person who's like, I see you, rather than I see me. I see me as far scarier than I see you.
What's also interesting is, for as much as she's resisting and not wanting to change a lot of things, everything keeps happening around her, and she keeps becoming the only one that's aware of certain things. And you have to question it to your boss in the police department, your coworkers. You're like, you don't think this is weird? This town has more than finding out who stole your recycling can.
Right.
And then you're the one like, I don't want to be doing this. Why can't somebody else do this? But because you see everything, you're the one that has to do everything.
Yeah. I think she's
begrudgingly leading the charge on solving this mystery of what's going on.
But I do feel like what is amazing about the way that Andy has written this is that everything and everyone that we meet in Cheddar has a purpose, whether or not it's
missing people.
There is
everything's going missing. Cars.
There's a story.
Yeah.
There's a story there. They all have a journey, and I love that about the show, because nothing is superfluous, and even though she doesn't know what it is, she feels it. Rhea feels it. There's something here, and I just need to figure out what it is.
You had a line that was really funny. It's like, potholes just don't show up out of nowhere, and steer don't just skin themselves and explode laying on the street. Yeah. And everyone else is just acting like, oh, that happens all the time. It's no big deal. And you're like, what are you all doing? When was the last
time you saw a deer in 20 pieces?
Yeah.
That's not normal.
No, it's when like a semi-truck hits it at 80 miles an hour on a highway. It's not in a small country town on a road where it's just everything is ripped apart. It's like something did that. We need to figure out what that is. Check out The Passenger on BritBox here in the United States and also in Canada there. Quick sidebar. Any more plans for you in the MCU or no?
Oh, I don't know.
Don't know.
I wish they'd tell me.
No one ever knows until the last moment. Like, hey, guess what? You're in this thing. Okay, I'll drop everything and go do that. Thank you so much for your time, and best of luck with the show.
Thank you so much.
We are in the press room for Passenger, the ITV property that is now available on BritBox for all of you here in the United States who might be Anglophiles like myself, can't get enough of British programming, and they don't air enough of it in the United States, but
Correct.
That's the beauty about streaming services. You don't need the networks and the TV anymore because it's all right there. And no matter where you are in the world, now everybody gets to share it together. A global experience like it should be.
Agreed. And BritBox has been great for that. You know, there's certain... We'd always have some stuff that would be exported from Britain, but it would usually be of a similar ilk, I would say. So to get depictions of the north of England specifically as a northerner, unapologetic with that accent, and especially this depiction of a beautiful green snow-covered rolling hills of northern Yorkshire.
Yeah,
it's a nice something for us to export.
We are talking with Barry Sloane, who plays Eddie Wells on Passenger. For the audience out there, he looks familiar. I kind of know him from somewhere. Well, he's been through few famous properties here in the United States. I mean, worldwide, but for here in the United States. You were on Longmire.
Yep.
And you do a lot of video game work.
I do, yeah. Been doing that for a while now.
So everybody who's up late at night streaming on Twitch and you're playing Call of Duty in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
1, 2,
you
3,
might recognize this voice.
Captain John
coming
Pierce.
at you. Yeah.
So you're screaming at him for yelling at you, and you're screaming at the people
Not my fault.
who are camping
Shoot
and
better.
sniping you, and you can't even complete the mission. So
yeah, exactly.
Of course you know him here. This is a great opportunity for you because you're known for your acting and your voice work.
Yep.
But this is your debut. As far as like a sci-fi kind of thing, a thriller kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did a Steven Spielberg thing a few years back on ABC in about 17, 18, called The Whispers with Lily Rabe and Milo Ventimiglia. Really interesting property, but so I've dipped my toes in the sci-fi water.
Okay.
But I would say the show was more not supernatural. I would say it was more unnatural. What attracted me to it was taking ordinary people and putting them into an extraordinary situation. So it's like when a community has a playbook for the odd, but none of the answers. It's like, okay, how do we fix this?
Right.
And fear, like how people deal with fear as a community. On the macro, this town of Cheddar Vale, but on the micro, or on the macro, like how we deal with it as citizens of the world. Sometimes we feel like something's going on to the right of us, at the left of us, but we assume like either it'll fix itself or somebody else will fix it. Well, probably as a one, we should do it together.
Right.
And that's what this show shows. We're better as a group than divided.
So you're spoken of, but not seen much at the very beginning of this series here, and then all of a sudden we find out your backstory is that you were sentenced to prison for 10 years, got out in 5 for good behavior. Then you make your debut on the show, you're seen, you return to your family. First thing I noticed as you were standing there at the door, how long does it take to do all that tattoo work on you, on your neck?
Took a while, yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed the design of this guy. When I sat down with the producers and the costume and hair and makeup, I really wanted to like pay homage to like bad boys of any generation and ilk, and I didn't really want to place him in time, so I kind of wanted to feel like he was 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000 emo right the way through. So
you're a greaser through all time.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Like
It's
if you
just
weren't
that,
wearing the jacket, you'd have the pack of cigarettes rolled up in your sleeve, kind of.
Well, I did actually have the pack of cigarettes rolled up in my sleeve as well at one point. Yeah.
So what was the continuity like? Because they put that on you all the time.
Yeah,
is it stencils or are they drawing off pictures?
It was a full-on stuck-on tattoo. It just depended on what part of me was showing at
Right.
different points. We'd expose more and more. So I think there's one scene later on where you see the whole body and there's more. I had ideas for even more. But,
you're saying that a lot of the show and a lot of the town a lot of the concept is based on fear. It's also based on the fact that it seems to be that people can't remember things. People forget, whether it's fear, trauma. You know, when stuff blocks out in your head and then you have to go through therapy and everything, all of a sudden it comes out.
Yeah.
We don't, I've only seen a couple of the episodes so far, so I don't know how the rest of it goes. But your story is, you don't know what happened. Everybody else seems to know what happened to you. The town is upset with you. Your family's upset. You thought the family was going to be happy to see you. You find out your family's upset with you.
Yeah.
And you're standing there and you have to admit, which was very difficult for a guy to admit. It's like, I don't know. I don't know
remember.
what went on.
Well, it's like the fear of, you know, when you're called a monster or accused of a heinous crime of this nature that he has, and you can't remember that. It's like, is that me?
Yeah.
You know, am I capable of this that I am being accused? You know, I think we all wonder if, you know, God, could I do that? It's like if you woke up and someone told you you'd done something, like, it doesn't seem like me.
Because it's hard, in today's day and age, with everybody having a phone, there's security cameras everywhere. There's got to, anytime something happens in the world, they go, check CCTV, check Twitter. Somebody probably posted a video or photo, so you know what in there. And in this kind of situation, at one point, I had to go back and check. I go, what time period is this in? Because I wasn't seeing the cell phone until later.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, there's no cameras anywhere. There's none of this on it. Nobody's remembering anything. And then you go, oh, it's present day. And you go, to get away with that in present day where you don't remember, nobody's seen anything, and you go, that doesn't happen anymore. That's a time that we don't live in anymore.
Well, that's another interesting element of Chadder Vale, you know.
Also, the name's fun too, because hearing everybody saying it, it's like, wow, that sounds so elegant. And then you look it up, and in America, it's Cheddar Vale, and you're like, what? That's such a weird name for a place. But they're all thinking it's all eloquent. And you get, like you said, Yorkshire countryside and all that beautiful area.
I'm very proud. Very proud of what we have in Cheddar.
How cold was it? Because a lot of winter shots there.
It's very cold.
Yeah.
This chilling north wind doth blow in the north. But, you know, we're all right. You don't moan about it. We got snowed out a couple of times. We had to, you know, stop filming. Because certain days we didn't need the snow.
Yeah.
You know, it's not in the script. Stop snowing.
There's a lot of stuff involved in this show that, you know, I mean, we can't even discuss because just the slightest wrong turn will give something major away with this. What can we talk about involving, I mean, that we already said with Eddie? He's out of prison. He's got out for good behavior. The town wants him dead. His family's not happy with him, and he doesn't seem to remember anything that's happened.
It's just interesting watching this character unravel, really, you know, seeing what's underneath what we, based on your first opinions, you know, how wrong can you be or how right can you be, you know, that's what's going to be interesting about him, you know. It's not your normal greaser, let's put it that way.
Yeah. There was a scene where it wasn't overly important to a lot of the stories going along, but you pull up to this garage and the guy throws you a bunch of tools and said, you're going to need this stuff here. So does Eddie have this kind of background? Was he a mechanic?
That was his garage. That was his garage.
That was his. Okay.
Yeah. That guy now who is running it kind of took it on himself to start running the garage after he was put in prison.
Right.
So he's come back thinking I can have a semblance of happiness, you know. It's actually a little detail. If you watch back, you'll see like Eddie's turned up with his cloth, his work cloth in his jean pocket, because he's that excited to get back to work, and then he's told he can't. So it's another thing that is just sadness for him.
Yeah, that's got to be insane too.
We'll never show that to him, but he's heartbroken at that moment.
If you were away in prison, or if you came out of a coma and you just expect to pick up your life where you left off, and everything else is moved on, and you're not allowed to, and you're just trying to find your way. Like, well, what do I do now?
He's having to ask his wife for cash, you know.
Yeah.
To buy cigarettes or whatever. It's like he's back to being a child, you know.
Well, it's 6 episodes. It's out now, right, on BritBox.
This evening.
Right now as we're doing this. So as you're hearing this, yes, it's already out. If you haven't subscribed already to BritBox, what are you doing? Go over there and do that. I've been over there. I've talked about BritBox for years. I was a big fan of like Alan Partridge stuff.
Yeah, I just said that before. That's one of my favorite things.
They used to have Uncle was it Uncle Ted? Father Ted, and then that disappeared, so I'm waiting for that to come back.
I watched Father Ted with my buddies on Friday nights in the UK in 1995-6. It was like a thing we used to do. It was fun.
I had a grandfather who used to, for years he would say this line, I had no idea what it was.
Feck off.
Feck off cup? Yeah, like that? And I'm like, what? I don't know what that means. And I got older, and then I had a grandmother that used to watch Keeping Up Appearances with the Bucket Lady?
Yeah. Mrs. Buckets, yeah.
All good.
It was a pleasure. Love it.
We're here with Andrew Buchan. You know him from Broadchurch. You know him from The Crown, Carnival Row. And another gentleman who's been in a whole series of video games. A lot of you British guys show up in every popular video game that's out there right now. Whether you're being British or whether you're being American, you guys are dominating the industry right now as far as voiceover work for video games.
Well, go on. You're referring to years ago. I played.
You were in Fable 3, Fable the
Smurfs.
Journal.
I was the Smurfs on Fable. That's right. That's right.
The Last Story, Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine. You were in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, well, there we go. Yeah,
it's great work if you can get it. Just sit there for a couple hours banging out a script, and then all of a sudden you're seeing memes and clips of your voice, people getting irate on Twitch screaming because, something that your character did in the game. It's fun to see all of that stuff. This is your first venture into creating and writing a show.
That's it.
You've been part of a lot of popular properties, and now you get this chance to do your own thing here. I noticed a lot of meta mentions in there, a lot of meta influences that you were talking about there. One, you made a mention of Twin Peaks. I'm a big Twin Peaks fan.
Yeah.
And you had a clip in there where somebody said, "This isn't Twin Peaks." And I was like, but it kind of is a little bit. Were you a big Twin Peaks fan?
I've never watched it.
Really?
I've never watched it, embarrassingly.
Wow.
But we did put in a lot of references like that, or this isn't Broadchurch, or, to just to be daft and be silly, really, just to kind of play with it and have fun with it and reverse it.
Well, that was my next
it.
thing on there, is that Broadchurch got a mention in there, which is also very meta.
We were just being silly.
This show, I was trying to figure out what it feels like. It feels like it could be Fargo. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yes.
That whole same scenario where involving a police department, mysteries, murders, things, all that going on there. It felt very similar to that. Were any of these influences for it?
So it is in no way like Broadchurch, I'd say that. My biggest influences, I would say, were definitely Fargo. Ben Mendelsohn's The Outsider, I don't know if you call it that, with Jason Bateman in it.
Yes.
True Detective, The OA, Stranger Things. All those shows that kind of lure us into a false sense of familiar and then hit us with something unknown. Like shows that kind of take something traditional and then shake it or oddify it. So personally, I would say the final scene in the last season of Fargo, where that thing, person, thing, human thing, whatever he is, played masterfully by Sam Spruell, goes into that couple's house. Nobody knows what century he was born in, never mind what decade, and they invite him to stay for dinner and have waffles or whatever it is. So the juxtaposition of them and him in that kind of like dinner setting, I just thought was masterful. So yeah, I've been wholeheartedly 100% influenced by shows like that.
The show came out on ITV already. It already aired.
Yeah.
But here in the United States, we're getting it on BritBox. And going online and reading up on it, it's amazing the job that nobody's really spoiled anything. They're talking about the show.
Yeah.
But going through it, it's like there's no spoilers. And that doesn't happen nowadays because everybody's quick to go to a movie like the first day it comes out, and they're taking video and throwing it up on their Facebook and their social media and stuff. And this show has been out already. It already broadcast over there.
Yeah.
And like everyone's being really cool about it. Like they're not revealing anything.
Yeah, I can't. I don't have an answer for that. I can't explain that. But yeah.
Sure. So it's 6 episodes. It's a mystery. Part of the mystery, I like that it feels a bit like The Thing. It's what you don't see and what you don't hear and what you don't know is more terrifying than what you could put up in front of the screen.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
And that I always love that stuff. When certain movies will have something, and then at the end it's kind of rubbery or it's kind of practical effects, and you go,
disappointing.
I mean, it's okay, but it's not what I was thinking. And the fact that you're just hearing some gurgling and not seeing anything happening, I'm like, that's the best, because now you're just like, what the hell is going on here? And what's in your head is going to be worse than what they could put out.
Far worse. Yeah,
it's 6 episodes. Is there any plans to maybe continue down the line?
It's a limited series, but that isn't to say that I don't have an entire journey mapped out in my head. But yeah, we're promoting it as a limited series.
Okay, fantastic. Andrew Buchan, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Go see Passenger. It's available on BritBox here in the United States. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.